Okay, already did that. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the College of Letters and Science session this afternoon. I'll give it a few seconds to let everybody roll in, and then we'll get started. Welcome everybody. So a little bit of housekeeping before we dive in. Everything's on. So if you have questions, I'll ask that you use the Q&A. So down at the bottom, you should see, or if you're on an iPad, it's probably at the top right. Definitely use the Q&A if you have a question. That helps us monitor them. It helps us not lose them. You should also be able to upvote questions. So if you see a question that you also have that somebody else typed in, definitely give it an upvote and it just moves it to the top so that we can address those. We will also use chat just to engage. So if you have answers to questions that we're asking, feel free to use that as well. We want to make this fun and engaging, and also a good learning opportunity for you and also for us. There are some folks in the room. I have a couple of faculty members here. We have several students, and I have my colleague from the first year advising team also here to answer your questions. So if you have questions, you can start asking them now. They might type those answers for you. Otherwise, we're probably going to get to them at the end. We're going to leave lots of time to answer your questions at the end, and we'll take those live. Okay, so before we go any further, I actually have some questions for you. So let me first, I want to find out who's here. So let me know who's here. Parents, students, if you got any siblings with you, future Aggies. Nope, future Aggies. It's all right. Awesome. Okay, good. So probably a bunch of you are sitting with a parent, which is why we're seeing more than 100% response rate. Awesome. Okay, good. I have another. Well, here. There you go. Now you can see. Now you can also see who's here. Great. One more question for you. Let's see. Here we go. Let me know where you're from. I had to use broad categories. Sorry. I didn't want you to have to scroll too far. So, wow, there are actually a handful of you from outside of California and actually outside of the US. That's really, really cool. Just out of curiosity, if you are out of state, let us know. Where are you? Where are you? If you're out of state, let us know. And also maybe if you're out of country, let us know where you're at. Just drop it in the chat. That'd be great. Just kind of fun information for the rest of us. See, Chicago. I love Chicago. Excellent. Okay. I think those are all the questions I have to start. Here we go. So if you don't know, this is where we are. Some I have heard say that we're in the middle of nowhere. I like to say we're in the middle of everywhere. If you visited us for Aggie Experience Live, you may have heard that before. But this is where we're at. We are the northernmost UC campus. 20 minutes from Sacramento, which is great if you want to go into town, get something to eat, or maybe get an internship at Aggie Square. Some cool opportunities there through the UC Sacramento program as well. An hour and a half to San Francisco. So we're an hour and a half east of San Francisco, hour-ish away from the greater Bay Area. Just 2 hours to Lake Tahoe. So, and then also, the Bay. So an hour and a half to 2 to the Bay. So you're kind of right in the middle. You like to surf and you like to ski. Davis is the place for you. 3 hours to Yosemite and just a short little 6-hour drive to LA, but a 1-hour flight. The airport is really close to us as well. The Sacramento airport is really, really close to us. I have one more question for you. Actually, yeah, so let me know in the chat if you visited campus before. Have you been to visit UC Davis yet? If you haven't, you can still come. The campus is open. A lot of buildings are still locked. If you go through some buildings, you might have to do a screening, but you can definitely visit campus. We're not doing live tours yet, but there are ways for you to kind of navigate around campus through some of our apps and take an actual guided tour virtually. So we have some pretty cool opportunities for that. Wow, it looks like a lot of you have visited. That's great. I love it. Yeah, it's a pretty special place. So if you've been to any of our sessions through Aggie Experience Live, you've seen this video. But if you haven't, there we go. Whoops. Now, okay, here we go. If you haven't seen it, it's a nice aerial shot of the campus. So we'll let that roll for a couple minutes. I really miss campus. Anybody else after seeing that? Okay. But the good news is, I know there are lots of questions in the chat and in Q&A. The plan is, yes, to go back in person in the fall. So I'm excited about that. All right. So a few more things about UC Davis in particular before we get into more about the college. So at UC Davis, there are lots and lots of ways to get involved. In fact, there are at least 800 student clubs and organizations in which you can get involved, which is a lot. I'm trying to remember if I put, no, I didn't. So I'm wondering if you all got involved in high school. Like, what are some of the things that you did in high school? Did you do sports? Did you do National Charity League? Did you do other sort of community-based organizations? What are some of the things that you got involved in high school that you're thinking, hey, if I go to UC Davis, I might want to do something like that again? Soccer, absolutely. Key club, yep. Student government, awesome. We actually have somebody in student government in the room, so they can answer some of those questions if you have them. The newspaper, we also have somebody who writes for the Aggie. Awesome. Yeah, another newspaper. Art club, excellent. So lots and lots of clubs that are academic focused. So most majors have their own club associated with it. And so students who are in a major could sign up. Students who are not necessarily in the major could also participate. So academic clubs, but probably some of you put it in there and I may have missed it. Religious or faith-based clubs, again, student government, political-based clubs, music clubs, performance clubs, sports, Greek life, and then, of course, I mentioned academic and honor societies as well. So lots and lots of ways to get involved. And here's the thing is you find something or you don't find something that maybe is of interest to you. I think, and maybe one of my students can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you need like maybe 3 other people to like sign. You have to have like a board of 2 and maybe 2 other participants. You can create your own club. You can start your own organization at UC Davis, which is why we have over 800. So now a little bit about the College of Letters and Science. So you all got invited to this program because you were admitted to a major in the College of Letters and Science. So what is Letters and Science? Generally, the College of Letters and Science, if you look at any institution, is going to be the liberal arts and science college. So at UC Davis, the College of Letters and Science, we like to pride ourselves. We are the heart of the liberal arts and science education because almost every student, if not every student at UC Davis is going to take classes in our college because everyone needs, if you're in engineering, if you're in biological sciences, or if you're in most of the ag and environmental science majors, you're going to need math, you're probably going to need some physics, and you're going to need some chemistry. And all of those majors are in the College of Letters and Science in our foundational sciences program. So 4 different discipline areas, generally arts, art studio, art history, design, cinema, digital media, music and music programs, the humanities majors, so ethnic studies, English, the languages, those are some of our humanities majors. The social sciences, probably majors many of you have heard about, like psychology, sociology, and political science, but also maybe things you haven't heard of, like linguistics, cognitive science, and then the foundational sciences I mentioned, math, physics, geology, chemistry, statistics, some really cool programs. So before I go any further, I do have another question for you. I know you guys are asking a lot of questions, but before we go any further, I kind of want to know at this point where UC Davis is on your list. So if you've been admitted to UC Davis, you probably have choices of other schools as well. So tell us where you are or where we are on your list of options. No place I'd rather be. Okay, well, this is what I was hoping we'd see. I love that nobody is in the Met or below. That's great. So almost all of you are in the, we're near the top of your list, which I'm happy with. Maybe by the end of this, you'll move one direction. Hopefully that's up. And then I also have another question for you. If you've got a major declared, so maybe let us know how sure you are of your major. I mean, the truth of the matter is, and you've probably heard this before, is that I think the national average is like 70% of students change their major at least once. At least once. So that means probably more than once. And so most students who come to UC Davis either consider a change, so maybe they start in one direction and then they come back, or they actually make it official. And then what I want to know is drop it in the chat. Let us know what your intended major is, what you're admitted to, or maybe what you might want to study once you get here. I'd love to see that. Here are the results from, your how sure you are of your major. All right. Yep. Seeing lots of sociology, design. Wow, actually, we're kind of all across the board. Cool. Math, history, love it. You're probably seeing a couple of these majors now on this slide. So in the College of Letters and Science, as I mentioned, we really have a bunch of discipline areas, which really gives us the opportunity to have a lot of kind of cool and unique majors. If you're thinking like forensics, or if you're into the CSI TV series, applied chemistry, they have a forensic science, a forensics chemistry track in the applied chemistry area. They also have an environmental area. So if you're wondering about how the impact of environmental influences on chemistry, so they look at in atmospheric science, it's chemistry plus atmospheric science and soil microbiology, and even some toxicology, environmental toxicology. Design, so UC Davis has the only comprehensive design program in the entire UC system, and we actually are the only UC campus to have a fashion program in our design major. So if you come and you're looking at design, and I did see some designs, you get to choose, right? So you don't have to be fashion, but you could do graphic. There's even some, like, I know there's furniture design and furniture build classes in design. So when I say comprehensive, it actually really is comprehensive. Web, I said graphic, but like web too. Geology is a really cool major if you like to be outdoors, if you like to get your hands dirty, if you like to discover new things. Geology, they have field courses as part of that major. Some summer field courses, and actually they require a summer field course. So getting hands-on experience, getting that kind of beyond the classroom experience, you'll definitely get that in geology. I won't go through all of these. Marine and coastal science, you're looking at the Bodega Marine Lab. It was part of the flyover tour that we saw a minute ago. If you major in marine and coastal science or double major in it, there are opportunities for students to go out there and do like a summer residential internship. So students down there in those tide pools that you're seeing doing research in those tide pools, pretty cool. And then if you're like really into figuring out how or why ads pop up on your Instagram feed, or why Amazon keeps telling you to buy this product, that's all data science, big data and algorithms and all those things. So if that's of interest to you, then the data science track or even the machine learning track in statistics might be something you want to look at. I'm only pointing these out because a lot of students, as I mentioned, change their majors, and that might be you. Maybe you're not fully landed on your major yet. A couple others I want to point out, and these are very unique in the College of Letters and Science. I love talking about these particularly the top three majors, because I call them the choose your own adventure. Probably the faculty in those programs wouldn't do it. But if you're looking for a program where you get to really emphasize in a particular focus area that's of interest to you, then one of these majors might also be of interest. And these three majors I'll add have relatively small unit requirements. So a lot of students who major in these are also double majoring in something else. But when I think of where we are now in the world with all the layers of complexity that we're all facing at this moment in time, pandemic, environment, politics, social media, cancel culture, racial, social injustice. I mean, there's so many things that are all layered on that I don't know if anyone can pinpoint a particular moment in time that all of those things were all happening. And so if you're kind of wondering like what kind of impact some of those things have had on other things, particularly like people groups, maybe gender, sexuality, women's studies might be a major you want to look at if you're wondering about how they've impacted women or pay inequities, those kinds of things. American studies looking at other people groups, maybe people with disabilities or marginalized communities, the impact of not having clean water. And then of course, science and technology studies, if you're looking, thinking about social media and the impact of social media on society, politics, how we think, maybe what moves us in one direction or another, the kind of influences that are making on our decisions. Those are some really cool majors that you might want to look at. And then we do have an individual major. We don't talk about it a lot, but we do have an individual major, and students can develop their own curriculum. It's not easy to do, but in all of these programs, you do work directly with the faculty advisor to kind of pinpoint your direction, make sure that the requirements are being met, as well as your academic advisor to make sure that you're meeting the requirements for the degree. Students in the College of Letters and Science, I just want to take a second. I have not been looking at the Q&A. I have not been looking at the chat. So I hope everything is okay there. Wow, there are lots and lots of messages in there. Okay, so I'm just going to ignore that and keep going. Somebody will stop me if we have an issue. I'm gonna make Mark. We'll do the Mark show again. I'll make Mark stop me. All right. So in the college, we have a lot of opportunities for students to also get outside of the classroom. We want our students to get outside of the classroom. We want our students to get hands-on experience. And you can see here that more than half of our students do participate in research with faculty. They're doing independent research. They're participating in internship or other leadership opportunities. The students who are in the room are members of the ambassadors of Letters and Science team. They're getting leadership experience through participating in that organization. And then I listed a few places on campus that are tied directly to our college that students can get experience in. Center for Mind and Brain is connected to our psychology program, and it's also got a connection to the health system as well, the UC Davis health system. The nuclear lab, the Pitzer Center for Performances, And then those last two, the Internship and Career Center and the Undergraduate Research Center, those are two places where students can go and get, well, number one, they can get help, they can get advice, they can actually sit down and talk with an advisor in either of those two places to help kind of pinpoint their interest and maybe kind of hone in on their interest, and then find resources that might give them the opportunity to expand or to learn more about what they're kind of interested in, where they've honed in. So that could be an internship, or that could be research through the Undergraduate Research Center. Both are great resources for students at no cost to you, but sometimes students get paid to do internship. And they also can get, you could also get units too for participating in internship or for participating in research. Another opportunity for students to get outside of the classroom is to get even off campus. So here's a picture of, I'm pretty sure this is Florence, a group of students who are participating in a study abroad. So lots of opportunity to study abroad. Did it virtually this year. We probably will continue to be virtual for another year or so, maybe-ish. I'm not exactly sure yet. But the study abroad opportunities will be there for students who are coming in fall of 21. But getting a global experience isn't just also going abroad. There are lots of opportunities for students to get global experiences on campus, off campus, I mean, domestically as well, and even in our own community. I talked a little bit about it very briefly at the very beginning when we showed the map of California and where UC Davis is in relation to, in the state. And Sacramento is just 20 minutes east of us. The UC Center in Sacramento, it's actually a system-wide program, but we have the benefit of it being in our backyard. And so students, it's actually, they offer a residential program, so students can actually, even if you live in Davis, you can live in Sacramento. They have a building with apartments, and students participate with students from all over the system, all over the UC. And they do internships at the state capitol, but they also do internship in finance, in museum, all sorts of opportunities. And the same with the Washington program. So the UC DC program, the Washington program, is similar, but it's in Washington, DC. That is also a system-wide program, and students, it's residential. You go out there, you live in DC, and you can do an internship in a variety of different places. Does not matter what your major is. Regardless of what your major is, there are opportunities to do internship through either of those programs, Sacramento and the Washington program. And the great thing about those programs is that they actually help students find the opportunities, find the internships. They're a sourcing opportunity. They're a sourcing resource. They actually help students get those internships. And then, as I mentioned, geology, but also anthropology. A couple of our majors have field course options for students, and some are even required, as I mentioned, with the geology program. And then you saw the Bodega Marine Lab. We actually have a site up in Tahoe. Some students go up there and do research. Lots and lots of opportunities to get off of campus and participate in getting outside of the classroom and learning outside of the classroom, really applying your knowledge. I want to talk a second about our advising structure. So at UC Davis, we are a large institution. You probably know we have somewhere around 30,000 students. There are a lot of undergrads, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and some graduate students as well. So it may feel like there's there are just like maybe you're just a number, or I've heard that before. But I really want to point out that it's true when I say we're here for you. So in the College of Letters and Science specifically, we have an advising structure where you get to come and see an advisor either in the dean's office where I work, and I'm going to introduce Mark Reyes in a second where he works. You get to come and see one of us once a year, or you get to go and see your major advisor. So at least once a year, you are checking in with your advisor. So we want to make sure that you're staying on your path, that you're making progress towards graduation, that if you run into any roadblocks, we can help clear those for you. So as part of that advising structure, so Dean's office, where Mark and I work, and then also in the major offices where you have a major advisor, both of those offices also have peer advisors. So peer advisors often just help students, figure out, okay, how do I use Oasis? How do I, maybe figure out what's the right GE class to take? Does it meet a general education requirement? So there are peer advisors as well, but there are also faculty. So your faculty should also serve as advisors to you. What I should say is you should rely on your faculty to also be advising you. So when you go into office hours and you're asking about your major, is it the right fit for you? Or what can you do with your major? Or what are some career options? Or maybe you came out of lecture and you were either really confused or you're really jazzed and you just wanted to go and talk about it. That's what your faculty are there for. So definitely make use of that. If you're undecided about your major, and I think a handful of you were, we have an undeclared program. So maybe you applied as an undeclared student, or maybe you're just undecided. Maybe you did check a box, but you're kind of not sure. That was a long time ago. It was, what, 8 or 9 months ago now. And so maybe you're thinking, I might change my mind. Our advising team can help you with that. In fact, we actually have an undeclared advising team. They do workshops, they do classes throughout the year that students can participate in. So lots of resources for that. And then it also, and I want to mention one of the best resources we have in the dean's office are our mental health counselors and our case manager. So for the students who come into us, we actually have 2 mental health counselors dedicated to the students in our college. So you come in, you're talking to an advisor, and the advisor starts to hear something about, maybe you're not doing so well. Maybe they're starting to hear some words that they're starting to get a little bit worried. There's a clear path to get you to talk to one of our counselors. They're dedicated again for the students in our college. They're doing one-on-one sessions with students, and they're doing group sessions too. So they can do group meetings. And then our case manager is someone who can help students navigate all of the different resources. So maybe you're coming in and you're talking to an advisor, and the advisor starts to hear things like, it might be that you need a little more time on tests, or it sounds like maybe there's some food insecurity or something along those lines happening. So that's a point where that advisor might connect you with our case manager, and our case manager can help connect you to the different opportunities and resources that we have for students, to support them through to get your needs met. All right. So, oh man, I've been rambling on. I know we're at a little after 4, and I want to make sure we have a lot of time for questions. You're admitted. Now what? So hopefully you know that the SIR is due by May 1st. That's step 1. If you know you want to come to UC Davis, submit your SIR. Out of curiosity, has anybody submitted the SIR? Drop it in the chat. You'd make my day. Oh, I love it. Yes. Yes. Oh, okay, good. Whew, that's great. Making my day. So you've already done step one. Once you submit your SIR, then the housing application becomes available to you. It takes about 24 hours for the systems to connect so that you can get the housing application. That's next. And then the other thing is to make sure that you're reviewing your financial aid. We're not financial aid counselors. There are no financial aid counselors in the room. So probably can't answer specific questions about financial aid, but go to My Awards. myawards.ucdf.edu should take you to your financial aid package. Review all of your awards there. I'm going to ask Mark, the other Mark. That's Mark Reyes.
Hello.
I'm Tom. I'm the other Mark. That's Mark Reyes. I'm going to let him just give you a little bit about the orientation process. I know we usually get lots of questions about what is Aggie 101 and what is advising and when will I register for classes? Do you want to just give us a few points about that?
Yeah, awesome. I saw some questions in the Q&A about when do I get to meet my advisor before I can pick classes, things like that. So as Mark mentioned, do submit your SIR. That'll make him feel better. I know when his stress level goes down, and I see on his face, he loves to see all of his SIRs. So the next step after you do that will be what we call the Aggie orientation experience. And it's really sort of a tripod of 3 different components. The first one is your Aggie 101. So Aggie 101 is an online orientation module that will give you an introduction to the university. You'll hear from students, you'll hear from staff and faculty, and also it'll guide you through specific components. So that includes things like advising, financial aid, student support, a lot of the things that Mark has touched on. We'll go into a little bit more in depth into those services and what students can expect. As soon as you've completed Aggie 101, you should sign up for your Aggie advising appointment. So this is going to be your first opportunity to meet with an advisor. All incoming freshmen will be meeting with an advisor in the College of Letters and Science. So Mark mentioned different advising centers and different services across campus. So our office at the dean's office level, we primarily focus on things like general education, graduation requirements, or the overall picture. Because freshmen come in very, we know you're all in different majors, but a lot of students are exploring. We like to focus sort of on the general aspects of your degree, getting you into GE classes, talking to you about the core major components. And so our office and our advisors can help you with all of those basics. Those appointments will start to become available around May 10th. So as soon as you SIR, I believe the SIR so the SIR deadline is May 1st. I believe shortly thereafter, you'll get information on Aggie 101. So definitely go in there and do that. And then you'll be able to sign up for your Aggie advising appointment. And a big focus will be on your fall classes. So if you're concerned about, I don't know what to take, that's okay. That's what the advising is going to be there for. You can visit our website to find more information on your particular major and what the recommendations are for the first quarter, even before you go in to meet with your advisor. But have your questions ready. Think about different topics that you're interested in exploring. If you are considering changing your major already, that's a perfect time to have that discussion so your advisor knows what to look for. So a lot of that will be done in the advising sessions. Then Aggie orientation is our fall orientation module. So this is the first week before classes begin. So this is going to be an opportunity for, we hope, students to come together physically and see each other and be together on campus. And there will be a variety of different activities. You'll get a lot more information from the orientation office on that as we get sort of further into the process. So that's just sort of the general overview, and I'll be here to take questions during the Q&A session as well.
All right. Don't go anywhere, Mark. Don't go anywhere. All right. Next up, the Q&A. So Mark's already here. I'm going to ask the rest of our panelists to join us. Hey, all right. Come on in. So how about we do this? how about we do this? How about we introduce ourselves? Just say maybe a little bit about who you are. And I'm putting you on the spot. I did not prep them for this. What is one thing you love about UC Davis? Or like, you know, what's kind of a fun fact about UC Davis that maybe not too many people know?
Mark, I think the advisors need backup getting the cameras on, maybe their settings. Sorry, the ambassadors.
Let's get them in. All right, I will work on that, Claire, if you want to get started.
Sure. Yeah, hi. I'm Claire Waters. As it says on the screen, I'm a professor of English, and I'm actually also the undergraduate advisor in English right now. So always happy to answer questions about that department. I saw some English majors coming, which is awesome. And I'm the faculty advisor in the dean, to the dean. So I work also with Mark and Mark in the dean's office at the moment. And lots of things about Davis. Let me think for a minute. One of the things that I really enjoy about being here is that people work really well across departments, and there are a lot of connections between departments that you wouldn't immediately suspect. And so you can find all kinds of interesting people, and this is true for students as well. Whatever discipline you're in, you can find a lot of interesting people who might have shared interests to yours in other places. That's true on a lot of campuses, but I think our culture really encourages and promotes it, and I like that. My own work is pretty interdisciplinary, so. Carlos, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Carlos Jackson. I'm a professor of Chicano or Chicanic Studies, and I also serve as chair of that department. And it's lovely to see all of you here today, virtually, anyhow. I am an alumni of UC Davis. I was an undergraduate. I did some of my graduate education in art studio here at UC Davis as well. And I'm now one of the, fortunate enough to be able to teach here. And as an undergraduate, I loved so much was when it came time to enroll in classes. Way back in the day, when I was an undergraduate, we had the course catalog, which is now all online, was printed. And when it came out, you would pay like 10 cents and you would go buy it. And I used to just spend so much time flipping through the pages. It was big, like, that hundreds and thousands of classes being offered every quarter. And I just loved being able to know that I could take almost any class that I wanted to take. And that kind of interest of just where I wanted to take everything. And I wanted to learn about the global AIDS pandemic. I took a class on mushrooms, molds, and society where we studied, how beer is made and how cheese is made, and courses in literature, courses in ethnic studies, art studio. And so the range of what you can do at Davis is immense. And the other thing I'll say about Davis that's really unique, and I think many people will attest to this, is that the faculty are very accessible at Davis. Faculty have their doors open, their virtual Zoom doors, right? But then also once we come back in person in the fall, you're all gonna find it quite easy to be able to go and actually spend time with your professors. That's not the case at some of the other major UC campuses, where the professors can be somewhat inaccessible or hard to make contact with. And I serve as a chair of a department, and I have students all the time knocking on our door. I'm in my office often, right across from the main office in Chicano Studies. And having that connection, I think, is really very special. I think it's why our students do really well here at Davis. And so many of our students go on to do really incredible things upon graduation. It's an incredible place and a real gem. And I encourage you all to come knock on my door when you get here, just to prove the point that we're accessible.
He's going to hold you to it. All right, Mark, you've already introduced yourself. Did you already introduce yourself, Mark?
I think I did. Maybe I'll do it again. So again, I'm Mark Reyes. I'm the assistant director for first year advising in the College of Letters and Science. I'm actually also a UC Davis alum. I graduated with my bachelor's in history here. I won't mention the year. It was a while ago, but I never left. One of the things I love about UC Davis is the community. I think it's pretty unique that an institution of our size can really feel like a small town sometimes. And I think the movie we showed talked about, California's college town. It really is that sort of college town feel. I can't wait to get back to that once this is all past us, behind us. But being able to talk to people, call up on the phone, now Zoom, and actually get a human being to talk to, not a recording, and it just the community, the people, a lot, you'll find a lot of people on campus are also alum because they just fell in love with Davis and never left. So I think it's one of the best things about our campus, and I can't wait to get back to it.
I know, me too. Khalil.
Hi, everyone. My name is Khalil. I'm a third year political science, cognitive science double major. And my favorite thing about Davis is going to be the community. I think coming into college and Davis for the first time, it was a really big transition and it was really nerve-wracking. And I think the community that I found here at UC Davis is so welcoming and makes that transition into college so much easier. I think you'll hear a lot about us being a college town, and that is exactly what we are. And it makes it so easy because everyone in the city kind of knows that we're all going through this together and we're all kind of in the same situation. And that's why I get involved with all these UC Davis outreach and College of Letters and Science outreach. I'm a tour guide, especially back when we were in person, because I love talking about this community, and hopefully you get the sense of it here today as we're talking more about the College of Letters and Science.
Thanks, Cleo. Audrey, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Audrey. I'm a second year psychology and managerial economics major, and I'm from the Bay Area. And I think my favorite, or one of my favorite parts about UC Davis is the campus. Just like, it's so beautiful. And even now, like, I just go out there and I walk around, like, it's just so nice. The nature, like the Arboretum is amazing. So that's one of my favorite parts, is just walking or biking around campus. And yeah.
Thanks, Audrey. Itzel, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Itzel. I'm a fourth year sociology and communications double major. I want to say that my favorite thing about Davis is probably the people. I think everyone is so friendly that it's kind of mind-boggling. TAs are friendly, your professors are friendly, people are more than willing to like help you out with homework, which I think is always really nice, especially in such kind of like a collegiate environment.
True. Huey, Quilvio, you go.
Hi everyone, my legal name's Kilvio. I go by Huey most of the time. I'm a fourth year math major from San Diego, Chula Vista specifically. My favorite thing about Davis is also probably like the community and the people, and you'll find a very common answer, because that I feel like is what makes Davis like especially special to everyone, just because like Itzel said, everyone's really nice. It just makes that transition between high school and moving to a new town, a new environment, really seamless. And like you can join a number of clubs, and like it's really easy to find your community and just find people you relate with and that you're gonna make a bunch of great memories with.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't think I introduced myself at the very beginning. I'm also a UC Davis alum, also class of back in the day, along with Carlos and Mark, but I'm pretty sure I'm farther back in the day than both of you. In psychology from this college. So I am a graduate of the College of Letters and Science. My favorite thing. I mean, I left for a little bit, but I've been back for like 20 years. So, I mean, I love it. And I get to work with amazing, amazing students. I want to also point out that there is one other person in the room. I won't say she's shy. She is definitely not shy, but she was really, really busy this weekend. She did a TED Talk, friends. Like, she got picked to do the TEDx UC Davis, and she knocked it out of the park. It was amazing. So I told her, you can sit in the background and answer questions. So that's what Angie's doing. Our friend Angie is helping answer some of your questions. She's also a computer science major and is graduating this year and has a job already lined up at Microsoft. So yeah, hit her up with questions. If you have questions, I just want to reiterate, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A. That makes it easiest for us to monitor them versus the chat. But now let's get to some of your questions. If you have questions, I would love to see questions about student life, like what it's like, how do you manage your academics, you know, how do you do all these things? Because all of these students do lots of things. So definitely would love to see questions around that. But let's get to what we have so far. All right, housing. Should I answer the housing question? I mean, I can answer the housing question. All right, so if applying early, do you get priority if you apply early? You don't necessarily, but I mean, it's probably better to get it done early because then you get it out of the way. If you have some like preferences, like if you want to do a living learning community or something like that, it might help to get it done early. But that's really a question for housing. I would say get it done as soon as possible is probably the best answer to that. Claire, what do we know about classes for the fall? What do we know about in-person versus virtual?
Yeah, so what we know is that we all really hope to be mostly in person in the fall, and we are feeling pretty optimistic about that. We have a particular advantage at Davis in that our provost, Mary Krogan, is an epidemiologist. So she knows the science on this stuff really well. And so she's been a great leader for us through this pandemic. And the campus is right now working through all the really complicated questions that we need to be able to address to get everybody, or as much as possible, everybody back here safely. So it's possible that some of the very largest classes may still have to be online because those are the hardest to manage, right? Because they're the most people in one space. We'll be keeping an eye on that, but the real goal right now that the whole campus is working toward is to have us all back for as much as possible in person.
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, that's what we're hearing. So we also have some questions about internships and research for our students. So anybody want to take the research or internship experience? And then I'd love to ask either Carlos or Claire to talk about maybe sponsoring undergrads doing that kind of work. Huey, you did an internship, right?
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
can
gonna
talk
call
about
you out.
what I've been involved in.
Perfect, thank you.
So I had 2 summer internships. One was during the school year. So I went to school and I worked for the Sacramento Kings, the basketball organization in Sacramento. I was business analytics intern. It was a lot of fun, just kind of applying like what I've learned in the classroom and how that I can translate that to like a business to generate like revenue or kind of just general insights. And then another one I had this past summer was for an investment management company in LA. Kind of same thing, using like data literacy skills and math and statistics to kind of tell them, hey, this is kind of what we should do. Like these are what the numbers are telling us. And yeah, I mean, I applied to both of them just kind of through the company website, but use like the internship and career center to like help interview prep and like walk through my resume, and just kind of like make myself stand out as an applicant. And then I was involved with research with a grad student. Typically, most students are gonna do research with faculty advisors. Mine was kind of different just because I did well in the class he was CAing for, and he was like, "Hey, you want to do research with me?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I mean, opportunities are kind of always knocking. So
Anybody else have experience doing either research or an internship?
I have some experience, especially with research. I know that that's kind of an unfamiliar topic for a lot of high schoolers because it's kind of new. And that was my experience where I had zero experience with research whatsoever. I didn't know how to do it. It just sounded like a fancy word. So I really went to the undergraduate research center, which is this great center on campus that has a lot of programs to help you get involved with research. And so one of the programs that I got involved with was their mentorship program, which allowed me to pair up with a graduate student who's currently doing research in my field and kind of shadow and see what they're doing and what research in my field even looks like. And so being a part of that program, I got to see that research isn't for me, but it's, I'm glad that I had that opportunity to figure it out, because a lot of times that's what you're trying to do, is figure out what is something that's interesting to you, and having that stepping stone into that field was really useful and helpful for me.
Carlos, Claire, what is your experience? I mean, do students come in? Do they come into your office hours? Do they follow up after a lecture? Like, what's been your experience like helping undergrads kind of find their opportunity to do research or those kinds of outside of the classroom experiences?
Okay, I'll start. So yes, for sure. Talking to students after class or in office hours is often one way that I find out more about what people are interested in and what they might want to learn more about, whether working with me or with one of my colleagues or in a different department. I'm right now actually working with two people writing senior theses who took a class with me in the fall, got interested in the topic. It was Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. I'm a medievalist. And decided to write their senior theses on that. And then also actually a university honors program student from that same class who's writing her junior project with me. So in English, that's a form that it can often take, right? Is a project where you have time to dig in more and do research on a topic and write a longer paper and sort of think about doing that. But I'm also involved in a program or a project that is on campus called Aggie Launch. And one of the big pieces of that is thinking about how to make all kinds of experiential learning, research, internship kinds of opportunities more available and more visible and more practical for students, both financially and in terms of time. So that's something that the campus is really focused on. And there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved with that. There are coffee hours, I can't quite remember, but they're like informal ways. So like if you don't happen to come across something in your department, the undergraduate research office runs events, right? So there are a lot of ways to find things. And Carlos does some, I don't know, does Carlos have aspects of this? That might be one place as well.
Yeah. So I agree with Claire. So my experience has been that a lot of students, the interests were the inspiration to do more advanced level work, which is what I consider research could be considered like another way of thinking of it is like more advanced investigation into a particular area. And so much of it comes through your experience in the classroom. Some of it comes from what your desired goal is or job that you want to attain by coming to Davis. But when you come to this and you're in the classroom and you're studying economics, the nuts and bolts of what economics was very different than what I thought economics was when I took an intro econ class. And so you start to learn what the field feels like in the classroom. And I think that's where that's where like things kind of click sometimes. And then you walk up to Claire, you walk up to me and you say, hey, I want to know more. Like, tell me about what you do, or tell me, or can you point me in the direction to read more on the topic, or that is where I have found a lot of where it all starts anyways. But the College of Letters and Science is so diverse. I mean, there's people that are studying the subatomic level of our humanity, and then there's people like me who are printmakers, using the printmaking as like a community-based tool to work to solve some of our the most pressing problems that we face within our communities. The range is just immense, and each person kind of approaches their work differently. So even in my department in Chicana Studies, I am in a department with about 10 professors, and all of us are so different. Some of us do kind of like quantitative analysis of like health impacts within migrant communities. And then there's somebody like me who does like applied arts engagement, or uses art and visual art as like a social justice community-based tool. So, I would say, like, I really do believe that there's like something for everyone at Davis. And it's like what I would think, all of us here on the Zoom, our job is to kind of like help connect you, point you in those directions, because it can feel quite big at times. And the goal is to kind of like build a life of interest that's like really special to you. And I think there's a way to do that here. Claire had brought up this community-based art center that I co-founded about 12 years ago called Tana. I'll put the link in the chat. It's a community-based art center that's run by the Chicana Studies Department that's located in Woodland, where we do have undergraduates doing research, but they're making prints and posters and doing it within the community. And they're helping doing free COVID testing in the parking lot right now and things like that. So anyways, thank you. Yeah.
Very cool. Mark, there are some questions about meeting with an academic counselor prior to admission. And there's another question about, there was something in here about orientation. I'll see if I can find it. But do you want to talk about the advising process?
Sure. So I may have answered the one about orientation already, but in terms of meeting with somebody prior to accepting the offer, unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to meet with individual or do individual appointments before, but I'm happy to answer any questions via email. In fact, I'll throw my email down in chat here. So feel free to shoot me an email if you have specific questions about, our process or want to get more information. Happy to do that. I did also respond to a few questions about advising and whether, we'll have the records and AP scores and things like that. So I just wanted to mention too that registration for the College of Letters and Science will happen mid to late July. So between May 10th and mid-July, you'll have plenty of opportunity to meet with the advisor, do some follow-up if you have additional questions. If you are one of the people who are raring to go and you do one of the early appointments, but things like your AP scores aren't quite in yet, or something's changed on your record, or you have follow-up questions, definitely go back. We're also planning to hold some additional webinars prior to registration to get some of those extra questions answered. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to communicate with somebody beforehand, so don't worry.
Thanks, Mark. I want the students to be poised for, I'm going to give you a second to think of an answer. Why did you choose your major? And I mean, I know Khalil, you're definitely in that 70%. And maybe one thing that has been surprising for your major, and Audrey, think about the psych program. There's a question about forensic, and maybe if you want to talk about like the different tracks, how there's a BA, quantitative, science, right? But so be thinking about that. I'm going to answer a couple of questions that are in here about like our rescind policy and stuff. So if your pattern of courses changed in second semester, you definitely want to notify the admissions office through your My Admission portal. So anything that happens that is a change to what you put on your application, you want to make a note of that, and you want to notify us through the My Admissions portal. We'll cease during your senior effective admission. I can't answer that. It really may come down to kind of where we are on enrollment. That's really an admissions question. Do your best to not get C's would be my recommendation, but definitely report any changes through My Admission. And then I also want to answer, there are a couple of financial aid questions in here, I think. Blue and gold, does the blue and gold plan reflect on my financial aid package as a university grant? Yes. Blue and gold is university grant. It's Cal grant. It's a bunch of different things that kind of are cobbled together to meet your tuition, which is I think what the blue and gold plan is about. So even though on your My Awards it doesn't show as blue and gold, that's if you're blue and gold eligible, you'll see a bunch of different grant options there for you. Work study, I also wanted to just take that one really quick. Work study, most student jobs on campus are also offered as work study. It's actually for the employer's benefit to hire work study students because the funding that goes out to the student comes from the feds versus from our own budgets. So a lot of student positions on campus are work study. Okay. Are you guys ready to answer that question about your majors? Awesome. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. Right. All right, Itzel, you go. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I came into Davis as an undeclared major, but I knew I wanted to go to law school. That was for sure. And so I took a bunch of different classes because for law school, you can go into it with any major. So I took a bunch of different classes and then eventually I found sociology, and I love sociology because it teaches you about the different kind of interconnections of why society is the way it is and how our history from like 80, 90, 100 years ago still shapes us. And I think it's completely fascinating, and I think it's completely relevant to the law. That's why I'm taking sociology. For communications, I figured as someone who's going into law school, I should know how to speak better. So I took communications, but I soon found out that that's not all that they teach me. They teach me as to why some people are more hesitant to speak up. They teach me as to how the differences between gender communication are. They teach me about age differences in communication, and it's completely fascinating. So that's why I stuck with communication. That was a short run through because we're running low on time. But yeah.
That was great. Thank you. Who wants to go next? Audrey, yes, thank you.
Hi. So for me, when I chose psychology, I had done a class, I had taken a class my senior year of high school in psychology, and I loved it. So when I got to college, I figured that I would take some psychology courses as my GE because I was a different major before. And then I just loved it. It's just such an exciting topic for me because you really get to like apply it to your own life. And so I took more classes here and I loved it. So I decided to switch. And there really are a lot of opportunities in the psych department, in my opinion, because a lot of professors do their own research And so I've participated in experiments where they just, they have a bunch of students to complete like some tests, and you really get to be part of the research, which I thought is really cool. And there are also the different tracks in the major of psychology. So you can either do a BA or a BS. And so in the BA track, you can take, it's a little bit more flexible. You can take some classes that are more like social psychology, personality psychology, like along those lines. And if you take the BS track, you do have a few more requirements, which include like statistics and like I think it's neuropsychology or like some cognitive science classes. It's something along those lines as well. And yeah, I don't know anything about forensic psychology. I haven't heard about that. But there's definitely some more information on the website too. So if you want to check that out, go for it.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it might be something that you want to look at the applied chemistry and look at the curriculum for applied chemistry and see what classes kind of are in that area. And when you meet with your advisor, it might be an opportunity to ask, is that something like I should be looking at, like maybe augmenting my coursework with some of those. Who else?
I can go next because I have changed my major a lot because I just really was not sure. I tell the story all the time that I chose political science because I watched Legally Blonde in high school my senior year, and I was like, maybe this is what I'll do. Maybe like I'll go into law, and political science sounds like a good way to get into that. And I think a lot of times that's what happens in high school is you choose something or you don't know what you're going to do, and you worry that you can't change. And I'm here to tell you that you can change. It's okay, and sometimes it takes a little time to find what you're really passionate about. So political science ended up being a really good fit for me. I liked studying the politics. I'm involved with student government and a lot of local politics and political campaigns. And cognitive science I found along the way because, as you can probably tell, I am a little indecisive sometimes. And cognitive science allows me to take a really interdisciplinary approach to a lot of subjects that I find interesting, such as psychology, linguistics, computation, and combine them together and see how they all play together. And so if you're like me and you're really worried, don't worry as much. And there's a lot of great resources to help you find your path when you get here to UC Davis.
You want to add anything?
Yeah. So I actually started in the College of Engineering and Biomedical Engineering, and I took the introductory engineering class, and that's when I realized engineering wasn't for me. That I went into shop one time to build things, and I was like, oh, this is kind of scary. I don't like this. I rather just sit at a desk and do stuff. Um, and then I also kind of bounced around for a bit. I was stats and econ for a couple of years, and then I started on math just because I really liked kind of like knowing and understanding the underlying reasons behind like a lot of things. So because like a lot of statistics is based on math. So I really like that aspect. And then another aspect of math that I really enjoyed was just that like in high school and like I guess in the world, math is typically thought of as this very it's calculations and it's the arithmetic. But when you get to the higher levels of math, it gets very abstract and it's just like it's solving a bunch of puzzles. So that was really fun. And then just like the foundational skills, I mean, it's a lot of logical and creative thinking. I mean, I feel like that I found to be an amazing like foundational skill set that I can apply to most things, and that's how I've been able to like pick up different skills at like internships and like why different employers have kind of trusted me to take me on as an intern. So I just feel like math opens so many doors just because it does give you those like nice foundational skills.
Excellent.
Mark, can I jump in?
We need more people like you because I don't do math. Yeah, Mark?
Yes, we do. So Liam invited me to share my experience as a history major way back in the day.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to quickly just add a couple of things. So again, I will say I came into Davis with a passion for history, despite, I was fortunate to have some really good high school and middle school history teachers. I know that isn't always the case. I know I hear from a lot of students like, oh my God, history, it's dates, this and that. Usually just not the best teachers. History here at Davis was awesome. Even if you're not a history major, take a history class. I guarantee you, whatever you're studying, it will help put a piece of that into context. I won't knock any other discipline, but I always felt like history was at the core, central to a lot of other disciplines, right? The history of math, the history of fashion, the history of just about everything. And I think what I found is it inspired me to take a lot of other classes, religious studies, philosophy. I took the history of music. It was kind of insane. Like it was hard. It was so hard to choose. So I know, Khalil, I know the feeling of being indecisive because there were just so many classes I wanted to take that, it was just hard to choose a schedule when it came time. But the history faculty, so if you're out there, you're interested in history, a fantastic faculty, very well renowned, and you will get a completely different experience than anything you've had in high school. Trust me, it is a much higher level top view of history and what that means. So that's my plug.
I'm gonna plug history also. Not that I was a history major, but history has a really low student to faculty ratio. So if you're looking for a community, like a cohort, a community, that kind of small liberal arts college feel, history might be a good option for you. Lots of our majors have smaller student to faculty ratios. Yeah, Mark?
I was just say one other plug. I know some of our faculty, I think they still do also teach in other disciplines. So there's some interdisciplinary in terms of the faculty themselves, religious studies, politics, things like that. So
for sure. Yep. Okay. What time is it? So we still have 10 minutes. So we definitely have time for more questions. So if you have them, definitely drop them in the Q&A. Move-in day, 22nd and 23rd of September. Isn't that right, Mark? Move-in day?
I'll have to
pretty
Google
sure
it.
it's I'm pretty sure it's the 22nd and 23rd, because that's right when Aggie orientation starts. Well, it starts on Friday. I think move-in day is
the Wednesday before.
The Wednesday before, yeah. So it's around September 22nd. Any questions anybody wants to take, please just let me know. Oh, paid internships for students who want to become elementary school teachers. Anybody? Okay, so a couple of options. I mean, you're nodding, so maybe you have experience with that. The Cal Teach Mass program. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but if anybody else has anything to add. So I would love for somebody to find the website for the Cal Teach Mass program and drop it in the chat. It's for science education, and it's K-12. But the program works with students from all disciplines, and they have placement, they have an advisor, they have placement. Thank you, Mark. So if you're looking to get into teaching, that's a great program to participate in, because again, you're taking classes that are also tied to an internship, so you're actually in a classroom. What was the other thing I was saying? Oh, we do have an education minor. So a lot of students major in just about anything and go into teaching, but we do have an education minor on campus. Anybody else have anything to add to that question?
I have something to add, but it kind of relates. I think for as far as internships go in general, UC Davis uses Handshake, the platform, and I've been able to get a lot of opportunities from there. So once you do get access, I'm not sure if you have access yet, but once you do get access, I highly recommend looking on there if you're interested in finding internships or contacting employers.
Yeah, I just put put the link in there. I can't talk and type at the same time. So if somebody else wants to talk while I'm typing, internship and career. There we go. Okay. Will you have access to Oasis after you SIR? Mark, you know the answer to that question?
I believe as
I'm-
soon as you set up your student accounting account, you should be able to log in at students.ucdavis.edu. Let me see if let me find that, and I'll throw that in chat as well.
Perfect. There's a question about living on campus or living on or off campus.
Yeah.
Khalil, so I know I can see you're typing an answer, but oh no, you said to answer this live. Okay, perfect.
I accidentally clicked it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I just figured I'd do it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't live on campus my first year. I lived off campus. What I would say are the disadvantages are it is a little bit harder to find your network to build a community. Not saying it can't be done. You know, I'm here now and I'm really grateful. And you know, there are benefits that route, you know, it is cheaper.
Mhm.
However, you know, you do have to be aware that you're going to need to be going out to campus as much as you can to join clubs, join different organizations to try to stay connected, because in the residence halls are where a lot of freshmen build their network and get to know each other, meet with their resident advisors, and have all the resources directed towards them. So that's the disadvantage. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you just so you're aware of the challenges that come with that.
We don't have a whole lot of time left, but so feel free to answer for my panelists to answer questions, to type questions. But I'm going to put Claire and Carlos on the spot really quick. What has been your favorite class to teach? Or maybe a unique class, like something that like is not something that someone would expect to see.
You go, want to go?
Let's go first.
I teach a class called the Chicanx Poster Workshop, and we make community-based screen printed posters for community organizations, community concerns, issues, and we distribute them. So it's part of the advanced training we do in Chicanx studies before you go out and potentially intern at the community-based art center that I spoke about. When it was a class that I took as an undergraduate, and it changed my life. There's also another class that I've taught and a colleague has taught that's very similar. It's called the Mural Workshop. Every year we go out and we paint a mural at a local site. A lot of times the murals that we paint are at a local school, but it's a whole methodology of how to kind of thoughtfully engage local community that can extend out to other ways of doing things. That's the most fun for me, has always been that class.
I want to take that class. A class that I taught a couple of years ago that was really a lot of fun was called Feminist Fairy Tales, which was three groups of fairy tales, one by a 12th century woman called Marie de France, who left a set of 12 fairy tales, basically. And then a couple of 20th century ones by Angela Carter and A.S. Byatt, and just kind of thinking about what what women wanted to do with that form in particular, right? Why did they choose that form? How did they tell those stories? Because all of them changed the stories that they told. And the final assignment for the class was to rewrite something that wasn't a fairy tale as a fairy tale, or to retell an existing fairy tale. And the work I got for that was just amazing. Oh, and then to write a reflection on what you had done, right? Like what made it a fairy tale, what decisions you had to make, what you had to change and keep the same. It was a lot of fun.
I'm going to put my students on the spot and ask them to maybe mention their favorite class. Has anybody taken the zombies class or the witches class? No. Let me, okay, before we get too far along, and have to ring off, I do want to let all of you know, so this is not widely publicized. And if you go to the website, you'll see it's way down at the bottom. We do have a bunch of classes that our professors have said, yes, we're open to visitors. So I'm gonna drop, okay, so here's the link to the classes that are currently open. And it's growing, it continues to grow. In fact, I probably have a few more to add that came in today. So yeah, so if you're interested in seeing what the classes might be like here, you can sit in. We don't normally do this. Go ahead, Claire.
I was just going to say, but please keep in mind that it's Zoom and we all really look forward to getting back in person. So
absolutely,
it'll be different. It'll be different
Absolutely.
than what you'll see, but it's still a great chance to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't give you guys really a chance to say what your favorite classes were. Do you want to say what your favorite classes were? Yes, Audrey? Audrey's nodding. Go for it.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite class was probably personality psychology. I absolutely love that class. We took like a bunch of different personality tests, and we were able to see how we identify on those different scales. And it's really interesting because it really helps you know more about yourself and also see how the different personality tests are accurate, or if they're like how they measure your personality. And I highly recommend that class if you're interested.
Anybody else have something to add before we ring off? Oh, constitutional law, yeah. All right, one last thing I'm dropping in the chat is it's just a list of links that hopefully you'll find helpful. It has the links to our next steps, my admissions, of course. Yes, Jesus, we are recording this and we will link it to, if you go to that link tree, to our Aggie Experience Live, we'll have it linked there. If you're still here and you are one of the people who asked about your EFC, your expected family contribution, or any questions that we haven't answered, there are 4 still left open. I'm going to stay, so I will answer what I can, but I also want to just say thank you for being here. And then if you are still here, will you just also say thank you to our amazing students and our faculty who are here. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, because nobody types like this anymore. Maybe like this. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We do have a couple more student panels, student-only panels next week. So if you have specific questions about student life, balancing your academics with everything else, and then you just have some burning questions for students, we're here for you. We're here to take those questions. I'm pointing to myself. I won't be answering those questions because they're student panels. They will be answering your questions next week. On that link tree is the link for those to register. Okay. Awesome. Thank you to my guests, to my panelists. Thank you all. You guys have been amazing. Thanks
See you
for
all
being
in the
here.
fall.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Good luck.
And I'm gonna.
Everyone.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna stick around for a couple minutes if anybody is still left and wants to ask me questions directly. But for the rest of you, thank you. Feel free to take off. You're all amazing.
There's a good question, Mark, in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Where can we meet with student ambassadors?
Oh yeah, Giovanni, thank you. So on our website is the ambassador link, or on that link tree. So I'm going to put it in here again. So if you go through the ambassador page, there's a contact us, and we've actually connected ambassadors directly with students who have specific questions. So we connect by email right now, and some of my students have said I would do a Zoom meetup. So so if that's of interest to you, definitely communicate with us. Happy to connect that way. Okay, if you are still here and have a question about, if you are still here and yours was the question about the EFC because it says anonymous, will you let me know so I don't answer it and nobody's interested? And so what I will do is, are there options to work on campus if you're 16? I mean, I think 16 is the age limit to get a job. So if you're a student, you can definitely get a job on campus. As Audrey mentioned, it's all done through Handshake. Handshake is the website, which is linked through Internship and Career Center, which I think is on that Linktree site. So there's that.
The EFC question is still open, so.
I'm sorry. Oh yes. Okay. So the EFC.
Still open, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Without loans, I still come short 4,000. So I don't believe all scholarships have been awarded, so that might be an option. But for students who have 0 EFC, generally you get grants and loans to make up your total financial aid package. So most of the time, an expectation is if you're receiving grant, any sort of gift aid grants, not necessarily scholarship, which is also considered gift aid, but university or Cal grant or even a Pell grant, you will also have a loan expectation. So not all students take those loans. They don't need them. They do work study. So maybe you get a work study award and you can make that shortfall through work study. But a lot of students do take those loans. They're generally good loans. They're the subsidized loans. So the interest doesn't accrue until you graduate. And you don't have to take the maximum amount that's offered to you. So you can decrease it. You don't have to accept the full amount of the loan. You can take what you need. I hope that answered your question. If you have other questions about financial aid, definitely contact the financial aid office, and do it sooner than later because of the volume. It does take about 5 business days to get a response. So if you have a question specific, I would definitely communicate with the financial aid office as soon as possible. There are, okay, so Jesus, that's also a good question about housing. If you have a disability or you need accommodation, there is a part on the application where you request the accommodation. I heard the housing representative say that in a session I was in recently. So through the application, there is a place where you can mention an accommodation that you might need. And so if that means maybe a single room or maybe a place that's closer to where most of your classes might be, then you can do that through the housing application. Just make sure you're specific when it comes to that accommodation part, okay? Great, EFC. Oh, neuropsych, I don't think so. I think students from all disciplines are finding internship. I wasn't a neuropsych student. I was just a general psych student. And I did an internship with a faculty member. I got internship unit, but it was actually more of a research, but I went into a classroom and we did it on infant sign language. It was really, really, really cool. So yes, I think internships are available. Well, research is certainly available, because I know that there are faculty who do specific research in neuropsychology at UC Davis. In fact, the professors in psychology just they pretty much cover the entire spectrum of the discipline. Yes, the blue and gold, it is, so on your My Awards, it will not show up as blue and gold. If you are blue and gold eligible, if you receive notice that you are blue and gold eligible, what you're going to see on your My Awards is grants. So you'll see possibly Pell Grant, or maybe University Grant or Cal Grant. And so generally the University Grant in combination with Cal Grant make up your blue and gold eligibility. So if you're blue and gold eligible, you'll see it on your My Awards as grant. It won't necessarily show up as a blue and gold scholarship or something that actually says blue and gold. Okay, I hope that's clear. It's confusing, I get it, but that's how they package. They have to package by fund type. So that's what you see on your My Awards. Oh, that's it. Okay, those are all the questions. There are 10 of you left. Thank you for sticking with us. Claire and Angie, thank you both for being here too and helping me out. I really, really appreciate it. For the rest of you, thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you maybe next week. I'm dropping it one last time. All of those links for you.
Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Mark. It's always fun to
Thank
see
you.
Yeah,
It's very fun. Yeah, and we can't wait to see you in the fall.
for
All
sure.
right, bye everybody.
Everybody.